Redge Nkosi, the Executive Director, FirstSource Money, who joins me live. Now, Reg, what challenges are BRICS members grappling with?
Well, firstly, there are quite a few challenges, but the prominent one would be the currency issue between the BRICS countries. Remember, right now, the form of trade that's going on here is transacted in American dollars. That's a pretty expensive exercise. The idea now is that we should begin to reduce those costs by ensuring that the BRICS countries themselves transact in their own currencies, bypassing the expensive dollar. But just not the expensive dollar, but the financing costs around this, conducting trade in international currencies is such that it evokes geopolitical issues. And if we are able to reduce those geopolitical risks, which are quite severe in the cases of many BRICS countries, that will fundamentally boost the BRICS international competitiveness as well as the standing globally.
Right, so South Africa says that at least 40 countries have expressed interest to join BRICS. Would joining the bloc have a big impact to their economies?
There's absolutely going to be massive impact if BRICS expands to, say, 20 or 27 or 2, whatever number that is. Remember, right now, the BRICS countries, the collective of them now exceed the economic might of the G7. They surpassed some few months back. We expect that when new economies like Saudi Arabia, Iran, Indonesia, and many others join, this will be a phenomenal trading bloc, a phenomenal bloc that, quite frankly, will have no other equal globally. So the expectation that BRICS will be having new members is high among South Africans, I think, right across the BRICS nations, and we expect this to perhaps be formalized in the coming few hours when the heads of state meet, perhaps tomorrow and so. But yes, it's a phenomenal act, and I think all of us are quite happy that we should be having a broader set of countries that can trade and conduct geopolitical and geoeconomic affairs in a fair and transparent manner, unlike in the past.
Okay, so let's talk about the new development bank, or BRICS Bank, as it's being referred to. It's generating some excitement amongst the emerging economies. Can the bank function as an alternative to Western financial institutions?
Right now, as we stand, the BRICS Bank, or the New Development Bank, cannot necessarily function as an alternative. It is, of course, quite helpful, as we have come to understand or hear from quite a number of commentators, but I think the capital levels are such that they're nowhere near the might of the World Bank and the IMF. What's required, however, is to boost the capital levels of this bank. As soon as the capital levels are boosted, but also changes within the structure, that should make this bank a very formidable bank to the extent that it can obviously rival the IMF, rival the World Bank, and any other development banks that will come to see. But also, the reach of this bank has been traditionally a bilateral type of a bank, in the sense that it funds between itself and a country, so governmentally. Going forward, this bank will begin to fund private sector, just like the World Bank is doing. When that begins, this is likely to be a game changer. And with the additional members like Saudi Arabia, significant coffers being added to this particular bank, we should see the massive retooling of international trade, international financial transactions, and generally project becoming larger and larger. It is possible in the next coming few years, I would estimate 5 to 10 years, that the BRICS Bank may as well surpass the World Bank.
Well, earlier on, you talked about the issue of de-dollarization. So boosting the use of member states' local currencies, of course, in trade has become a huge talking point. How will that work?
Well, firstly, de-dollarization is happening as we speak. In fact, it started quite a while back. It's only that it has become a lot more fanciful now because of the activities that are happening between Russia and Ukraine. and countries are quite miffed, if you want, by the West. I mean, the West activities of having to block countries trading. Now, de-dollarization started quite a while back. With the euro being created, they started chipping away from the power of the dollar. All right, that has been going on. Of course, currencies like the yen have been chipping away from, but that has been pretty slow. With the advent of the BRICS, this is going to change dramatically in the sense that all these countries are going to be bilaterally trading to each other, sidestepping the US dollar. To the extent that this continues and the level of international trade also continues to grow, de-dollarization is going to be a very, very fast reality. In fact, if you look at the numbers right now, in the past few months, of say 22 or 24 months, we have actually chipped away about 5 to 7% of the dollar. So de-dollarization is real and it's likely to be going at a far faster rate than perhaps imagined by the US itself. In the next coming years, maybe in the next 5 years, we shall have chipped away almost 10 or even 15% from the strength of the dollar as an international financing currency. So yes, it is a reality, and it is an exciting reality that we must all cheer.
And finally, right, so just to wrap this up, Reg, with more than 40 nations requesting to join the BRICS bloc, do you think all the core members are in support of this? And why has the bloc drawn such an interest from other countries?
Well, firstly, it seems to me many countries are beginning to, well, all the 5 countries are beginning to accept that it's very necessary that we should have a large pool of us together so that we can make a dent in the geopolitical setup that we currently are in. And unless that happens, BRICS 5 nations may not necessarily be able to be a good counterweight to the current formation of the G7. So it is true that the more countries come in, the better. But with these countries coming in, the force will be one that all of us cannot really disregard. The G7 is feeling the pressure. The entire Western bloc is actually beginning to reckon that the BRICS have come on board and are a serious player whose dynamics are going to affect geoeconomic and geopolitical situations in the world more than ever since 1944, when the formation of the IMF and these other institutions took place. It's an important development which cannot be undermined by any player anywhere on earth. So it is indeed quite exciting for us, I think those of us in the BRICS, that we're experiencing this now, today, and it's happening in Johannesburg.
All right, Redge Nkosi, thank you very much for your time tonight.